So welcome to tonight's personal development tips. I'm so excited to have the opportunity to share this with you. Now, if you're watching the program live, I want to say welcome. And if you're watching the recording, I want to say also thank you for watching this broadcast. Now, if you're watching live, you have the opportunity to text me on my number, which is 07956. I will try to put that up. So welcome to tonight's okay, 07956872141. The number is there on your screen. So if you want to text me and anything about personal development, leadership, or even management, then I'll be able to address those points. I'm about to get started in the next 60 seconds. Actually, I have 6 tips I'd like to share tonight. So if you're here, I would like to share those with you. And if you're watching this as a recording, then obviously you can watch it at your own time. It's Friday night. It's the 20th of February, and I'm excited to have this opportunity to share 1 hour with you and certain tips that I've gained over the last 55 years of my life. In fact, I've had the opportunity of being able to learn from some of the great gurus in life, really, some of the great masters, and had the opportunity to share some of these tips also with companies around the country and different parts of the world. So I'm glad to have the opportunity tonight to share that with you. So in the next 60 seconds, we will get started. And those who will join us where we are at that time. So thank you for coming. I will be sharing my screen with you, PowerPoint slides, which I have prepared. And we're going to start with our first tip right now. So I want to say again, welcome and thank you all for coming. Appreciate you being here. Now, just means of way of you can communicate with me. There are 2 particular ways in which you can communicate with me. 2 particular ways you can do so. You can communicate with me via my text number, which is right at the bottom of the screen, 07956872141. You can also call the number, actually. You can also telephone the number. So if you're driving or if you are actually by your mobile phone or iPad, you can call me and I will answer the phone. If it's to do with the show, I will answer the phone. But text me. Or if you're watching from the website, there's a little strip at the bottom left which says be part of the conversation. Click on that. It takes you inside. Just above my head, there should be 9 little squares, if you like. Click on that and you'll be able to be taken to the chat room and you can ask me any question that you so wish. So, okay, let's get started. I want to start off basically by sharing my screen, and I want to share a communications tip actually, because I've come across this many years ago. I'm not sure. This is research that was done many years ago, in fact, and I think it's so powerful and so pertinent that I think it's worth sharing with you. Now, there are 3 ways in which we communicate to each other in a conversation, whether it be a difficult conversation or not, doesn't really matter. There are 3 channels, if you like, through which we communicate. And channel number 1 basically is that we communicate through body language. Okay, body language. So it is said also that body language gives 55% of the communication. Isn't that amazing? 55% of the message that you're actually transmitting to the other person is through your body language, not through words, not through your tone of voice, but through your body language. You haven't said it, but your body is saying it. Okay, 38% is through your tone or your tone of voice. Very important to bear that in mind. 38% is through your tone of voice, and only 7% is words. Imagine that. 7% of the communication, 7% of what the other side is understanding is words. Okay, and that means that 93% of your communication is done subconsciously through your body language or through your voice. And that's very powerful information, I think, to know that as you communicate with your spouse, with your family, with your work colleagues, or with your church brethren, As you communicate, 55% of that communication is taking place with your body, your mouth, your appearance, your gesture, your posture, and your eyes. 58%, 55% is through the way you look. Okay, very very important. 38% is through not what you say, but how you say what you say. We call that tone of voice. And only 7% of the communication is done through words. And oftentimes we are focusing on what people say and not necessarily the way they say it, or even the body language through which that information projects. And so it's very very important for you to be very observant of your own body language, the way you're saying what you're saying. That means your voice. And also be very observant of what words you're speaking, because 93% of your communication to the other person is done subconsciously. So it's very, very important. Your mouth, whatever position your mouth is in, whether you're smiling or frowning, that gives information. Your appearance, the way you're dressed, that gives information. Could you imagine, for example, you walk into an interview, but you were not dressed appropriately? Straight away, the interviewers pick up information about you, whether right or wrong, based upon your appearance. Your gesture to do with your hand movements, the way you move your hands, and so on, or your posture, your entire body position at any given time. And also your eyes. Are you looking up? Are you looking away? Are you looking down? Are you looking at the person to whom you are communicating with? So it's very, very important, in fact, for you to bear that tip in mind whenever you're communicating. Okay, three areas to consider. We call those the three channels of communication, which are your body language, your voice, and your words. Master those three, and you'll be a master communicator in the way that you communicate to others. Now, if you have any question or if you have any comment, don't hesitate to text that to me in 07956872141. I'll be delighted to hear from you. And also, if you want to actually speak, call me, and everyone in the show will be able to hear you also, so you can do it that way. Or if you choose to just text me from within the chat room, you're going to be within the chat room to be able to actually communicate with me. So wherever you are in the world, you can text me, or you can get into the chat room and you can send me information. I hope that tip is useful, because that when I first heard of that, I was mesmerized to know that 93% of what I'm saying to my spouse, my colleagues, my friends, and family is done subconsciously, and I'm not really aware that I'm actually saying things to them that I didn't use words to say. Okay, because my body language is speaking it. Have you ever heard people come up to you and say, "Well, what's wrong? Is something up with you?" They're actually reading your body language. They can see based upon how you, you know, present yourself through your body language, that they can see that something is wrong. So very, very important when you communicate with people, especially actually when you are doing so angrily. People get a lot of information. Okay, so it's very, very important. I hope that tip is useful. Okay, let me move on to tip number two then. Tip number two. All right, let me go back to sharing my screen with you. I think I'm actually sharing my screen, aren't I? I think I am sharing my screen. So let me cancel that. Let me stop sharing my screen. Okay, let me see what's going on here. Okay, let me go back to here and see if that would work. Share screen. Okay, let me stop sharing screen and see. Okay, I'm not so sure if you can actually see what you're actually seeing actually, because my something is going wrong here. Okay, I'm going to have to go out and come back in. Okay, I'm going to have to go out and come back in, because I'm not sure whether or not the screen thing is working properly. So just hold on. You don't have to move. I'm just going to go out and come back in, and we will go from there. So it should still be working. Okay. Okay, I think I'm right back in. I'm right back in. I think everything should be working okay now. So I want to actually just focus now on my second tip. So I'm going to share my screen with you again. And I actually call this actually the four life position. This is very, very powerful, I think. And this really revolutionized my life at certain points in when I first discovered it. And it's called the four life position. Four life position. You're going to ask yourself the question, really, which life position have you adopted? Well, normally we do all four, but which one do you use mainly? Okay, life position number one is what we call the passive position. The passive lifestyle says you're okay, I'm not okay. You're better than me. Okay. You're okay. I'm not okay. That's the passive lifestyle. And that's very, very important for us to bear in mind is that that lifestyle normally puts themselves down, but actually elevate other people. They look up to other people, respect and regard and appreciate other people, but don't respect and regard and appreciate themselves. So the common phrase is, you're okay, I'm not okay. The second one is what we call the aggressive lifestyle. The aggressive lifestyle common phrase is, I'm okay, you're not okay. I'm better than you. You know, I'm going to get to the top whether you like it or not. And I'm going to walk over you to get there, even if I have to. And that's the aggressive lifestyle. Very, very aggressive. You know, the box stops here. If you don't like the heat, get out of the kitchen type of phrase. Okay. So the common phrase of the aggressive person is, I'm okay, you're not okay. I am better than you. I'm superior than you. And I'm going to get to the top whether you like it or not, even if I have to walk all over you. The third lifestyle, I believe, is the worst lifestyle. We call this the paralysis. The paralysis lifestyle, common phrase is, I'm not okay, you're not okay. In other words, the world is coming to an end. So why bother? Okay, why bother? This is the kind of lifestyle that people give up in. Normally, people reach this particular lifestyle before suicide. Okay, very, very important. Most people who commit suicide reach this lifestyle of quitting, of giving up, of throwing in the towel, and so on and so forth. You know, life ain't worth living type of thing. And again, the common phrase is, I'm not okay, you're not okay. Okay, the very last lifestyle, this is my favorite, obviously, is the assertive lifestyle. The common phrase here is, I'm okay, you're okay. I'm a good person, and so are you. This lifestyle appreciate people, appreciate the company of other people. They recognize that people are different and they're not the same, but they like people. You know, you're okay. I may not agree with you, but you're okay, and I'm okay. Okay, that's the common phrase of the assertive person is, I'm okay, you're not okay. All right, you're okay. I'm okay, you're okay. Now, these are the four lifestyles. Okay, passive, aggressive, paralysis, as I said, is the worst lifestyle to be in, or assertive. Now you got to ask yourself the question: which lifestyle do I maintain the most in life? What is my default lifestyle? I asked this question once to on a course, and one lady says, you know, I live at at Passive Street, but from time to time I visit Paralysis Street. Now listen to what she said. She says, I spend most of my time at Passive Street, but from time to time I visit Paralysis Street. Okay. Now, I want you to understand also, if you're a very passive person, okay, whether at work or at home or at church, wherever you are, the aggressive person love you. Let's say it again. If you're a passive person, the aggressive person really love you. Why? They love you because they can walk all over you. They can dominate you and dictate to you. They strive on bullying people who are passive. So if you're a passive person, be very, very careful that aggressive people that you may be around will actually take advantage of you. Okay, very, very important. So you don't want to be passive. Okay, you don't want to be passive. Now, the assertive person, on the other hand, the aggressive person have no idea, no way of dealing with an assertive person. The aggressive person have no idea how to deal with a person who is positive. And oftentimes, a lot of women who are assertive, who stand up from their rights and declare that their points of view very, very assertively, are oftentimes being accused, in fact, of being aggressive when they're really being assertive. Okay, so be very, very careful. People don't accuse you for being aggressive when you're really standing up for your own rights. Okay, now the question has to be addressed. What is an assertive person? Okay, what is assertiveness? And assertiveness has to take into consideration two things. It has to take into consideration you, okay, that you understand your rights, you understand what it is that you want to say, and you say it clearly and specifically and directly without beating around the bush. But at the other end of the spectrum, you also, as an assertive person, have to consider the other person. In other words, remember the phrase, I'm okay, you're okay. So you're actually considering yourself and you're considering the other person. Very, very important. Now, just because a person dress well, okay, and talk well and present well and do all the things that seems to be assertive doesn't mean they're assertive. Okay, an assertive person, okay, can look assertive and be assertive, but an aggressive person, on the other hand, can look assertive, okay, and present assertively, but inwardly, notice what I said, inwardly they're very aggressive. I think Jesus gave us a clue when he says something. I'm not sure if it was Jesus who said this though, but it's like a wolf in sheep clothing. Okay, a wolf in sheep's clothing. So you got to understand that even though a person look assertive, doesn't mean they're assertive. They may be inwardly aggressive. Okay, we call that sometimes indirect aggression. Right. So remember, the aggressive person have no idea how to cope with or how to deal with the assertive person. They have no idea. Okay, so if you're assertive and you maintain your assertiveness, then the aggressive person can't cope with you. They don't know how to deal with you. They just don't know how to do it. Okay, very, very important key. All right, paralysis. You don't ever want to get into that state. It's a very, very dangerous position to get into. As I said, it's a position where people give up. We see a lot of young men killing each other and so on, no regard for life. This is oftentimes the lifestyle position that they've got into, is a don't care attitude and anything goes type of thing. So let's review those 4 life positions again. Let's have a quick look at those life positions again. If I can get over to share my screen, I'll be able to share that with you again. And so here they are, the passive lifestyle. You don't want to be in that position because the aggressive lifestyle will walk all over you. Okay, now the aggressive lifestyle has no idea how to deal with the assertive person. Now, when you're assertive, in fact, the advantages are numerous, in fact, absolutely fantastically numerous. And it's for us to really understand that, really, because the more you're assertive and the more you respect and regard other people, is the more actually people regard and appreciate you and share with you. So very, very important to bear that in mind. Okay, I want to share with you my next tip, and I think this tip, you're going to love this tip. I think this tip is really, really awesome. I want to go back to sharing my screen with you, and so you can see exactly what this tip is. And this tip basically, I think I shared this last week or the week before. It talks about maximizing your impact, and very, very important, because the picture that you consistently hold in your mind will eventually be played out in your life. Okay, and the truth of the matter is, it will, I say here very reservedly, it may affect others. The truth of the matter is that it will. I think it was a wise man, Solomon, who said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Okay, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So you have to be very, very careful. The picture that you consistently hold in your mind will eventually be played out in your life. That is a fact. As a matter of fact, I believe that you are where you are in life today because of the dominating ways that you have been thinking over the last 10 years. I believe that's the truth about me, that I am where I am in life because of the way I have been thinking over the last 10 years. If you think negatively, consistently, you will produce negativity. You see, we are very creative people. Now, there is a proverbial statement that says death and life is in the power of the tongue. And when we talk about the power of the tongue, we're talking about words. The only difference between words, okay, and your thought process is sound. So your thoughts are still words, okay? So the way you think and the way you speak, they're really no different. They're really more or less one and the same. So you have to be very careful of what you hold in your mind, what you keep on speaking, okay? Because you will get more of that. The picture that you hold. And that's why I believe that one of the most powerful gifts that God ever gave us was the power of imagination. How do you use your imagination? Do you use your imagination to really set your future and to deal with challenges, or do you use it negatively? It's only it's only one or the other. It's either positive or negative. Okay, I used to use my mind negatively, and I was constantly producing negative things and blaming everybody else. And that's exactly what most of us do, isn't it? We blame everybody else for why we're not progressing. We blame the government, we blame racism, we blame slavery for all kind of things, okay? Not realizing, hey, maybe I'm to blame. Do you not know that you could be your worst enemy? You could be your worst nightmare. That if you don't control your mind, it will control you and destroy you at the same time. Okay, so it's very, very important that you consider the picture. What picture are you holding in your mind? What picture do you have in your mind about your spouse? What picture do you have in your mind about your children? What picture do you have in your mind about your future? As a matter of fact, what picture do you have in your mind about your past? Because whatever picture you consistently hold in your mind will eventually be played out in your life. It may not be played out today, but it will be played out if you keep on holding it consistently. That's the key. If you hold it consistently. So if you want to change your outcome, if you want to change your future, change what you consistently think about. Change what you consistently hold in your mind, because the picture that you hold in your mind will eventually be played out. Okay. Very, very important. So I want to go back to my screen because I have a picture I want to show you that I believe is absolutely, absolutely powerful. I'm not so sure why I'm coughing so much. I'm not so sure. Okay. This picture is absolutely fantastic. I found this on the internet a few years ago, and I use it in courses now that I teach in companies. What matters most is not what people say about you. What matters most is not the taxes. You know, when I say taxes, it's not, you know, what taxes the government take from us. What matters most is not what people say about you. What matters most is how you see yourself. You know, the picture that you consistently hold in your mind, type of thing. Okay, what picture do you hold? Do you see yourself as a cat, or do you see yourself as a lion? Do you see yourself as a chicken, or do you see yourself as an eagle? Do you see yourself as a mouse, or do you see yourself as an elephant? How you see yourself is very, very important. And I want you to notice no one can take away how you see yourself except you. You know, you can't blame people for the way you're thinking. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You know that people are blaming other people for the way they're thinking. That is so stupid. You know, it is so stupid for me to be blaming other people about how I think. No, 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 no. Oh gosh, no. You've got to take control of your thoughts life, and your thought life will take care of the rest. All you have to do is focus on your thoughts, and you'll be amazing how your thoughts will really lead you to where you need to go. It is an amazing thing. As you think, so you become. 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 It is an absolute fact of life. And so the picture that you consistently hold in your mind will eventually be played out in your life. And listen to this carefully. I said it reservedly, but I want to take away the reservation from it and say it will affect others. It will affect your spouse. It will affect your children. It will affect your friends. It will affect your church. It will affect your workplace. It will affect the community. Oh man, I tell you this is a very important point I want to make here. The better you get, the better people around you get. That is so, so powerful. The better you get, the better people around you get. Okay, that's really, really important. So be careful of how you're thinking, especially as a matter of fact, when people hurt you, when people offend you. That's the time when you're really tested. You see, how do you think about people who hurt you, or people who don't respect you or appreciate you, or don't even recognize you? How do you think about them? Because be careful how you're thinking, because don't forget, who's in charge of your thoughts? You are. You're in charge of your thought life, of your the way you think. I heard somebody once said thoughts are seeds. That's very true. Let me say again, thoughts are seeds. So every thought you have is a seed that you have sown. And the amazing thing about sowing seeds is that harvest time will come. It's not a question as to whether harvest will come. It's an absolute certainty that harvest will come. The seed we sow, we reap. Let me give you a little classic about the seed we sow. 3 things I want to share with you about the seeds we sow. You will always, number one, you will always reap what you sow. You can only reap what you sow. If you sow orange seeds, you get orange. If you sow apple seeds, you get apple. If you sow mango seeds, you get mango. So you will always reap what you sow. Number 2, you will only reap after you sow. Not going to reap before. Could you imagine a farmer reaping, the harvest, but he hasn't sown anything, and then he says, "Well, I will sow my seed after I've got the harvest." No, no, no. You got to sow the seed first to get the harvest. It's just a reality. You got to sow the seed to get the harvest. Point number 3: you will always reap more than you sow. Now that is absolutely amazing. If you sow 1 apple seed, you're going to get more than 1 apple seed back off that tree. As a matter of fact, you will get back so much more. You probably won't even know what to do with it. So, 3 things about sowing. Number 1, you will always reap what you sow. Number 2, you will always reap after you sow. And I think my favorite is number 3, you'll always reap more than you sow. So if you want to reap much, sow much. But make sure you don't sow to the wind, because you will also reap a whirlwind. So you want to sow good seeds. Sow good seeds up here. Be careful what you're watching TV. Be careful what you listen to on the radio. Be careful of the friends you socialize with that sow seeds into your mind. Very, very important. Okay, very important. Welcome, everyone. I want to say thank you for coming. Just above my head, actually, there is 9 squares. You can click on that, and it takes you to the Q&A, question and answer. You could actually ask me any questions you want. You can actually rebuff anything that I say. If you don't agree, just say you don't agree and explain why. And if you have a question, then I'll be delighted to have that. You can also text me on the number beneath there, 07956872141. If you want people to hear you, you can actually call me and I will answer the phone and we go from there. So welcome to you all. Okay, let's move on to my next powerful tip that I would like to share with you, and we go from there. I'm trying to see if I can okay, I think let me just okay, I think I've made a mistake here. So let me right. So that was not a good thing that I did. Okay, I think I have the right thing now. Let me just try again. Okay, where are you? Okay, there you are. All right. Right, I'm about to share with you my next tip, and I think this one is really good. Actually, for those of you who do writing, actually, whether you do emails or report writing, I think this is an interesting tip. So I won't take much time going through this one. I'll just quickly give you some tips. This is something actually I've written 4 books actually, well 5, but only 4 is really published. And these are the tips I use when I'm writing in terms of language. There are really 6 major tips I use, and this is one of them. And I talk about language. You want to use short words whenever you are writing. Short word. Use words that your audience understand. That's what I mean by short words. So, for example, the word communication. That's 5 syllables. Okay, but because your audience understand it, well, that's a short word. If I said to you, lore. The lore of the situation was very interesting. Now, the word lore is only 1 syllable, but because people may not understand it, that's a long word. So, in other words, short words mean use words that your audience understand. Okay, don't try to impress them. Just try to communicate to them so that they can understand you the first time, all the time. Now, tip number 2: short sentences. Very, very short sentences. Now, if you notice, children books are normally between 0 and 7 words. That's why they're so easy to read. When you write, a sentence with 26 words with no major punctuation, it's very hard to understand. Okay, normally whenever I write, I normally do between 8 and 18. So I normally try average out around 15 words per sentence, and that makes it easy. Okay, very, very easy for people to understand. The more words you have in a sentence, the harder it is to understand. So very, very important. So short words, short sentences, and also I always advise people to do short paragraph. 0 to 11 lines per paragraph, anywhere between that, 0 to 11 lines per paragraph. And I generally say to people, don't do more than 1 thought per paragraph. So you're going to talk about 3 things, do 3 paragraphs. Does that make sense? And make sure your paragraph is short. So whenever you're writing, this is a system to use. Keep it short and sweet. Keep it short and sweet. I remember, I think it was Winston Churchill, in fact, who wrote a letter. He wrote a letter to someone, and this is what he said at the end of the letter. He said, "I am so sorry that I had to write you a long letter because I just did not have time to write you a short one." I want to say it again. "I'm sorry that I had to write you a long letter because I didn't have enough time to write you a short one." You see, generally speaking, when I write, it really takes me a long time to write a short letter, same as Winston Churchill. So I would quickly write the long letter, or write the letter, and then I would spend a considerable length of time, in fact, trying to shorten it by saying the same thing. So I may have to take out 4 words and put 1 in, or take out 3 words and put 1 in or 2 in, and trying to shorten it. And eventually I'm able to do that, but it's taken a very long time to do so. So always remember, whenever you're writing, whether you're writing in terms of a text, or you're writing in terms of email, or you're writing in terms of a report, short words. Keep it short and sweet. Short words, short sentences, short paragraph. It's amazing, actually, the amount of people who have had my book, and they come back to me and said, "My God, it was easy to read. It was just so easy." What they don't know is I spent months after months after months spending time shortening it and making sure that it was paragraphed properly. It had the sentences, I'd count them. And in some cases, before I did that, some of the sentences were like 46 words. Some were like 52 words in a sentence. Yeah, that's how it was. And how I came about this, actually, I went to one of the major bookstores in London to look at books, actually, along the lines of personal development, in my competitors, really. I wanted to see how they did it, what their style they use, and so on and so forth. And I spent, listen to this carefully, I had set aside to spend the entire day at this particular bookstore, Gower Street it was. And it's a massive bookstore. I think it has around 3 or 4 stories high. And I decided to spend the whole day there from morning till evening. When I got there, basically, I spent around half an hour in the personal development section. I was very disappointed. None of the books in there really helped me to learn how I could make my book that much more easier, and make it that much more better, and so on and so forth. Now, what I then did, before we left, I said to my friend, let's go over to the marketing department. And when I went over to the marketing department, I could not believe what they had done, and because that's exactly what I needed. So I used the information to do that. So let me just go back over here to my screen just for a moment. I think one of my grandchild is trying to get my attention. One moment. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, let me move on to tip number. Yeah, I was saying basically that I was able to learn so much from the marketing department, and in fact, I learned this from there: short words, short sentences, and short paragraph. So let me move on then to tip number 2, and this is a powerful one. Basically, I think this is really so powerful, and I want to say this actually, but before I move in, you really want to invest in yourself every day. You know, I always say to people, look, the reality is the more you invest in yourself, the more you're worth. That's just the reality. The more you invest in yourself, the more you're worth. If you invest in a property, your property will be worth more. If you keep on investing and putting money into a bank account, then your bank account is worth more. Just, reality. If you put a pound every day into your account, or a pound every week, well, your account is growing, isn't it? It's growing. And on top of that, you may get some interest, and so on and so forth. You can eventually take that money and put it in greater investments, in the stock market, wherever you decide to do it, and you begin to make much more money. Why? Because you're invested. The same is true if you invest in yourself. The more you invest in yourself, the more you add knowledge and skills, and the more you change your attitude and so on, is the more you will have on your investment. Let me share a major tip. I didn't plan to share this with you, and this might be the best tip of the night, I think. CEOs, top executive. Do you know what they do basically? Some of the top executive, they spend 10% of what they earn investing in themselves. 10% of what they earn, because they know the more they learn, the more they earn. Let me say it again. The more you learn, the more you earn. The more you increase and invest in yourself, the more you are worth. So it's very important, therefore, that you bear that in mind, that the more you learn, is the more you earn. So invest in yourself every day. That's tip number 1. Develop your ASK, I call it. Your attitude, your skills, and your knowledge. Remember, your attitude will determine your altitude. Always remember that. Your skills and your knowledge will take you to great places, but it's your attitude that will keep you there. I think this is worth saying again. Your skills and your knowledge will take you to great places, but it's your attitude that will keep you there. Remember this. Your attitude determines your altitude. Okay? Very important. Now, I want to say again is that the more you develop your attitude, skills, and knowledge, the more money you make, the more powerful you become, the more confident you become, and the more people want to be in your presence. Okay. Study the artistic mastery of others and use them in your life. It's really important. I always say, whatever area in life you wish to master, find at least 3 people that have mastered that area and study them. Study them. For example, I've looked at 3 of the top people in my field: T.D. Jakes, T.I.P.S, and Miles Monroe, and I studied them. Studied the artistic mastery of others and use them in my life. That's what I do. I studied T.D. Jakes, I studied T.I.P.S, I studied Miles Monroe, and I use what they teach and what they give me. I use it all over, and guess what? It works. It just works. It's just absolutely amazing. Always remember that the largest room in the world is a room for improvement. No matter how old you are, no matter how great you become, no matter how young you are, there is always room for improvement. I learned this many years ago. Around 30 years ago, I learned this statement, and it has never left me and never will. The largest room in the world is indeed the room for improvement. Seek the advice of those whose daily work is handling money. Now, it's interesting actually, if you're going to invest with people, get advice from people who handles money every day. What's the point in going to a bricklayer for advice and financial spending? I mean, that is just ridiculous, isn't it? That you're going to give your money to a bricklayer to invest for you. That doesn't make no sense at all. Seek the advice of those whose daily work is handling money. Okay, very, very important. Final tip here, become financially literate. One of the great things that I have learned over the years is that the reason why many people are broke and don't have money is because they don't understand how money works. They don't have financial, what I call literacy. Okay, and the Bible says, my people are taken captive because they lack knowledge. They lack knowledge. Very, very important. Therefore, that if you want to master your finances, then you must also get financial knowledge. Read more books, watch more tapes, go to more classes on finance. It's a study. A lot of people don't realize this, but the key here is to invest in yourself every day, and this is what you're doing. Because as I said before, the more you learn, the more you earn. The more you develop your attitude, your skills, and your knowledge, is the more powerful you become, the more confident you become, the more people want to be with you, and the more powerful you become. But if you develop your skills and your knowledge, but your attitude stinks, nobody wants to live with you, work with you, play with you, or even go to church with you. Let me say that again. You could have the greatest skills and knowledge on the planet, but if your attitude stinks, nobody wants to live with you, work with you, play with you, or even go to church with you. Attitude is everything. Your attitude determines your altitude. I've said this over and over before. If your skills and knowledge take you to great places, which it will do, it's your attitude that will keep you there and take you even to greater heights. So attitude is everything. And I hope that makes sense. Really, I really hope it makes sense, because that's a very, very powerful tip. I think it is a very, very powerful tip. Develop yourself, work on yourself. Okay, how many books do you read? How many videos do you watch? Study the artistic mastery of others. I've been studying T.D. Jakes and studying T.I.P.S and studying Dr. Miles Monroe. Even now, he has passed away, and I've studied those men over the years, and I found, this is what I found, as I began to think like them, and began to talk like them, and began to operate like them, and began to receive and get what they've got. It's amazing, because what I found amazing is that, at the age of 25, when I met up with Dr. Miles Monroe, not in person, but I did meet him in person very briefly, but when I met up with him through his tapes and videos and so on, at the age of 25, I couldn't read and write properly. This is an amazing factor. And now I'm able to travel like he traveled. I'm now able to write books like he write books. I'm able to run training courses like he run training courses, and so on. I'm not as great as him as yet, but I intend to be greater than he was. But the point I'm trying to make is that I just copied him. It's interesting, actually. I read a book called Copycat Marketing. It's a very, very short book, in fact. And what it reveals is something so fundamentally true. And it's that we're all copycats. We all been copying each other. I mean, you learn the language that you speak by copying someone. When you went to school for all those years, you just copying the teacher. And we copy each other all the time. And, how good a copycat are you? If you see the point I'm making. So I couldn't read and write properly. I couldn't really understand. I had no schooling. I didn't really go to school. I didn't really gain any qualification through school. I really have no qualifications to my name. But what I did do was I copied some people. I just thought, if they can get that by doing that, and if I copied them and did what they did, maybe I might get what they've got. And I found that, you know what? It works. So I'm just a good copycat, I suppose. Well, it's amazing, because I've been listening to Miles Monroe now for around 30 years. I've been listening to T.I.P.S for probably around 20 years, and I've been listening to T.D. Jakes for around 10 years. And I listen to at least one of them every single day. Every single day. Sometimes it's so crazy. Right now, I'm listening to TD Jakes at the moment. I've been listening to him and KC Price this week, but mostly TD Jakes on a message that he preached on forgiveness called "Let It Go," and I thought it was probably one of the greatest messages I've heard in a very long time. I think I've listened to that particular video at least 10 times this week alone. You know, even in the bathroom, I'm listening to it, even in the car or wherever I am, I'm just listening to it. Just absolutely amazing, you know. And I have it right here if you don't believe me. Um, let me just, okay, how do I freeze that one? Let me freeze that one. I've got it right here.
That has accumulated in your emotions. I will increase your vision to see like an eagle rather than to flutter like a chicken. If you can make it to the next level, he says, you must realize that people are not getting the you I created you to be.
Wow, what a message! I mean, I hope you heard that. But it's called, and you may want to look it up. I strongly recommend actually. This is my next tip. This is my next tip that you go to YouTube and type in "Let It Go" Bishop T.D. Jakes in bracket powerful sermon. I'm going to repeat that. Go to YouTube and type in "Let It Go" by T.D. Jakes in bracket powerful message or powerful sermon. Okay, and you can't go wrong. It's called "Let It Go." This is a message that he preached in a particular church. Must have been this year. I'm not sure when. And it's 43 minutes and 1 second. It's really worth the time listening to it. As I said before, I've spent probably around 3, 4, 5 hours listening to that, and probably more than that. And it's just been just absolutely mind-boggling, actually. And I'm so glad I had the opportunity to listen to that. Okay, let me move on then, and to my next tip. And just want to go back to sharing my screen with you. And as I said before, invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. Develop your attitude, skills, and knowledge. Study the artistic mastery of others and use them in your life. Always remember that the largest room in the world is room for improvement. Seek the advice of those whose daily work is handling money. If you're going to invest, those are the people you want to talk to. You don't want to talk to me about investment when really I don't deal with money all day in and all day long. And you must become financially literate. That's the key. You know, my people are taken captive because of lack of knowledge. Okay, next point. Now, this is really interesting actually, because a lot of people who struggle with this subject, I think this is very, very helpful. Where does stress come from? In other words, what are the root causes of it? What really drives the trigger that triggers the stress in us? And I think these 3 points will be useful. Okay, number one is physical pressure. Okay, physical pressure. Absolutely true. Physical pressure. In other words, someone beating up on you, physically hitting you, physically touching you. And it's important to recognize, as strong as you are, you know, over a long period of time, it can have a drastic impact on our life that causes us to become very, very stressful and depressed and develop acute stress and so on. So be aware of this. And if you are someone who is undergoing physical pressure, you may want to get out of that relationship, or for a while you may want to reconsider your position in it. There's a lot of spouses who have been battered and killed eventually, and the stress has been phenomenal. Number two, the environment in which you work, live, play, even the one that you may fellowship in church. So it's very, very important, therefore, that you recognize that the environment that you're in is very important to understand that it may affect your stress levels. Okay? If someone constantly shout at you and swear at you, okay, very important. The environment in which you're in, the friends and the you know that you keep, and so on and so forth. Very, very important. The next one, I think, is probably the worst of the three, and it's your thought life. Your thought life, and this really, I think, is Again, going back to the point I made earlier, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he become. And the way we think could be one of the most depressing things in our life, the way we think it. Okay, lots of information on this on YouTube, and you've got to be very, very careful of your thought life. What are you thinking about, and how long do you think about it? Remember what I said before, the picture that you consistently hold in your mind will eventually be played out in your life, and it may eventually and will eventually affect other people. So you got to be aware of this pet. This is the type of pet you don't want. PET, physical pressure, environmental pressure, and thought pressure. Okay. Again, I want to say again is that you want to avoid this pet. You don't want to keep this pet in your house. You don't want to keep this pet in your life. Okay. So if you're being beaten up by somebody, you may want to reconsider your position in that relationship. If someone is beating you up, physically beating you up, you may want to reconsider that, because it's not healthy. Okay. And if you look at the domestic violence situation in the country in which you are, you might be alarmed how many people are violently killed or violently hurt. I saw one lady once, and this was in America, and her face was just her body, not just her face. It was just amazing what was left of it. And I understand that the husband went to her workplace or went wherever she was and poured petrol over her or gasoline and lit it. I mean, this is absolutely amazing. I don't have words for that. That somebody would do that to somebody that they supposedly love. I mean, and this goes on and on and on. I mean, we know of stories of this, and you want to be very, very careful of allowing yourself to be in a violent situation. Be careful of the environment in which you have created, or the environment that were created for you. You know, you can create your own environment in your car. You have the power to do so. So you create a learning environment or whatever you want as an environment in your car. You have the right to create your own environment in your home. Okay. You may not be able to dictate the environment of work, but you can influence certain things to happen. So be careful of the environment you create, of the TV programs you watch, and so on and so forth. So I have created over the last 30 years a learning environment for me to live in. So I live in an incubator of learning, constantly learning. So right now, where I'm sitting right now, I have a computer right in front of me that I'm looking into the webcam that I have on top of it. So I have this here. To my left, I have another computer so that I can play whatever information I want to play. So I can listen to that while I'm working. To my right, I have my iPad that gives me another, if I want to watch a bit of TV on that, or if I want to watch something else. Sometime when I go in the bathroom, I bring my iPad. And then on top of that, I have my phone. In fact, this is more powerful now than the iPad, okay, because it's now 128 gigabytes of memory and so on. So generally speaking, if I'm on the plane, if I'm traveling on the train, whatever, I create the environment in which I operate in. And I want to strongly recommend that you also do the same. So you are making sure that, you know what, I'm going to make absolutely certain that I control the environment in which I live and which I work. So that's very, very important. So remember, the environment plays a major, major role. And finally, your thought life. I think this probably might be my number one tip for the night. Beware of your thought life. You know, Jesus made it quite clear that offenses will come. Okay? Offenses will come. People are going to do things that will offend us, and that may hurt us, and so on. If you live long enough, you're going to experience some of life's tough challenges, okay? And you have to be able to shake off these things as they come. You got to be able to learn how to shake them off. That when people say bad things or do negative things to you, you can just shake it off and move on. Shake it on and move on. Offenses come, you shake it off and move on. You know, somebody says to me, but Errol, it's easy to say, but I know it's easy to say. I know it's easy to say. That I do know. But it's also easy to shake a lot of things off. We might not, some things may be harder to shake off, you know, than some. But we've got to develop the ability, at least, develop the skills and the knowledge and the right attitude to be able to shake off some of these things that are affecting us and that could affect us and could destroy us. I'd rather learn how to shake them off than to allow those things to cling on to me and destroy me. I refuse to allow them to destroy me. So I'm going to do everything in my power that I can to make sure that I shake them off. I heard, I think his name was Hellwood Matthews in a presentation I received at Brighton. And I'll never forget that. He said, shake it off, shake it off. You got to shake it off. And if you don't shake it off, it has a way of itching onto you and destroying you. Okay, very, very important. So I want to say this as I conclude. Be careful, be very, very careful of what pet you have around you. Physical pressure, environmental pressure. And I think the biggest one of them, in my view, is thought pressure. And that's the one that's destroying most people around. How do you overcome thought pressure? How do you cope with it and deal with it? Well, you have to become stronger in your mind. How do you do that? How do you become stronger? By what you feed your mind to it. What are you feeding your mind with? If you're feeding your mind with junk, you're going to get more of that. So I would strongly recommend that you feed your mind with some positive. You know, who are your greatest speakers in the world? Who has written the greatest books for you to read? But get a hold of those material and begin to feed your mind with those things. And what you're doing basically is that you're strengthening your mind's ability to deal with and cope with life's toughest challenges. I want to say thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for dropping by. Appreciate you coming. This recording will be on the website. So if you want to watch this again, then you are more than welcome to do so. But it's now 11 o'clock and I must now sign off and let you go. I want to say thank you very much, and I hope that tonight has been of benefit to you. I wouldn't want to waste your time. So take care of yourself and your family. I will be right back here, same place on Monday, I think it's the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. Monday the 23rd, I believe. We're looking at Matthew chapter 19, talking about divorce and remarriage and things like that. So I look forward to that again. Thank you very much for dropping by. I appreciate that. Have a great weekend. And until next time, take care of yourself and your family. Bye for now.